Our existence and relationship to the land is celebrated through the dances and paintings that we do. A song might describe the land, describe a journey, describe a hunt for kangaroo, describe the geography and the sources of honey and water and food. If I hear a song about country and ceremony, and then I enter that country, I will recognise it, because I am familiar with its Dreamtime history. The story in the songline tells of country and its creators. It replenishes and rejuvenates the land in the telling, passing on the knowledge and the obligation to look after country.
I was out playing golf at Trafalgar one day and playing with this fella, and 70 odd years of age, and he asked me what I did, and I told him that I'd moved to Shady Creek and that we're doing a bushbroker program. And he said, "What's that?" I explained it, and he said, "Years ago I came out here and it was all bush. My wife wouldn't come out here until we cleared some land, so I bought an army tank, put a big blade on the army tank and start pushing all the sword grass and the trees and everything down. And I've cleared a lot of land around here, and you're telling me you're going out and planting more trees." And which I said, "Yeah, we're planting trees and we're planting corridors for from one set of bush to another set of bush, so the birds and animals have got a corridor to go through safely rather than being eaten up or killed by something else." So that was quite amazing that here's this fellow from 70 odd years of age has cleared this land, and here's this other fellow coming along who's 55 years of age and he's replanting. So we had a big laugh about that.
Probably kicked off to the degree it is now when a swarm turned up at my house I was living in.
Right.
And sat on the front fence.
Right.
And I thought, oh, here's an opportunity. Came across an ad in a paper and bought a heap of stuff, and it started from there.
Well, that's how it began.
One swarm turned up in the front yard. The environment that they're in, they're under pressure from all areas. Their habitat gets reduced through monoculture. We tend to have this idea that we can mechanise the land and just make tons and tons of one thing. But in the process of doing that, it upsets the equilibrium. And for us to try and balance the equilibrium, because all the pests in that move in looking to this massive nirvana of food, we pump pesticides into it. And in the process of pumping pesticides in, we don't just target the ones that we want to get rid of, it impacts on the ones that we don't really want to get rid of. So it needs to be probably a community outlook to just reduce things that impact on bees.
Yeah, since I've been here, I've actually noticed all the light glow starting to increase. So this will be right here for quite a while, but it will impede in the night sky. But hopefully they'll try and correct that with all the new subdivisions, and you put all these low cut-off lighting, which actually directs the light down at the ground rather than out in the sky.
Yes.
I went to the news agents and I bought a book on astronomy without a telescope. So that basically told me where what the stars, the name of the stars, where the Southern Cross was, the pointers, and then I learnt my way around the whole sky. Even with binoculars, you can actually see Jupiter's moons with binoculars.
Okay.
So even just visually, just look up and people don't know where the Southern Cross is and the pointers, and just the Milky Way, and also there's also you can actually see like the shape of an emu along the Milky Way, and I'm actually starting to get people to look up. Every time they see me, they say, "I was a clear night last night, Rod. I bet you outside." So I've actually got people starting to look at the sky themselves. So.
Yeah.
At the same time as starting a nursery, I embarked on wildlife corridors across that 110 acres, and fencing out the valleys to stop erosion for the cattle. But in a very short period of time, I saw the particularly bird life coming back into the area, and so now I have some quite extensive plantings through valleys, and trying then to adjoin a few small areas of bushland. My goal is to make sure that I can link all those up and have some travelling corridors for land wildlife as well. Feng Shui is important to me, the feel, the energy, and that's really where I'm coming from with these types of, whether they be shelter belts or shade belts, that type of thing really. It's getting the feel right, not just for me, but for others that use the land, such as the cattle.
thing about it is, so 95% of the world's produce is conventional chemical farm, 4% is organic, and 1% is biodynamic. In Australia, there's like 3 million acres under biodynamics, so it's a big industry here. We're the best people in biodynamics in the world. Most people think biodynamics is sort of hippie people. These guys aren't hippies at all. In fact, they don't want nothing to do with it, really. But they do the most, esoteric, hippie-type activity. And so the idea, I've decided that the outcome of the world environmental condition is going to depend on how the hamburger's grown. I can't tell you a bit about it. Yeah, we're setting up an Eve's hamburger place in Aspendale. But basically we've got a cost structure, we can get it down and go really close to McDonald's and try to take their business away, which is the fair thing to do. So you can't go to war if you don't know who the fight is. So basically I went and researched that and found out that 80% of the world's environmental damage is caused by farming, and the 5th biggest polluters are golf courses. So that's when I basically went and found out about farming and decided that no one else was going to do anything about it. And then I went and bought a farm, invested my money, put my time in, and become a farmer.
The connection that we had with Aboriginal culture was really about the connection with the land and the environment, and the Aboriginal people are of the land by their very nature. I went to the capital Sana'a and then went on a hot spring tour around Yemen, which they'd never had a request for a hot spring tour around Yemen before, but I had a driver and they took me around. And one of the hot springs that I went to, one of the spa centres I went to, was 2,200 years old and still operating. Bathing is something that every culture does. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, where you come from, people will bathe. They bathe as a child and they bathe all their lives. And how it's a business that's very sustainable and it can keep operating for a very long period of time because there's an ongoing need and ongoing demand for it.
We have to dig a bit deeper, but we settle on the surface. We don't go to what is in our bones, that feeling. In order to experience this, we have to walk the land. Then we wake up to feeling, what we call lian here. And we become more alive. We start feeling. We become more sensitive. And that's the time you start to experience, when the land pulls you and takes over. We have to learn to see again, learn to walk, to feel all these things again. It's very hard to grasp that out of reading books or through people talking. It's a very personal experience.